Good afternoon. Last night, my friends and I went to the racetrack. One of my friends, who owns a very famous restaurant here in Chicago, is one of the owners on a very inexpensive racehorse. But the racehorse is a harness horse, the ones that run behind the buggies, not the ones that, beautiful thoroughbreds that you go to the Kentucky Derby for. This is Maywood Park in Chicago that's filthy, that's dirty, that really has absolutely very little class. But the true reason for this, story is the gambling gods. Now, how do the gambling gods work? The gambling gods allow you to win occasionally, very, very little, but usually make sure that whatever decision you make, no matter how planned, no matter how, you've worked it out, you just have one or two decisions. And when you get to those two decisions, you got to pick one. And when you pick one, invariably you pick the wrong one. And then when the race is over, or the shot of the craps is over, or the drawing of the card of the 21, and you look and say, well, I was going to do that. I knew to do that, but I didn't do that. So the reason you make these bad decisions, or wrong decisions, is called the gambling god. And believe me, he exists. Whether there's a real God in this world, I don't know. But the gambling god for sure exists. And the way it works, I'll give you a little rundown. The way it works is last night we get to the racetrack and we go to where we have a little dinner. And there's my buddy and his wife and another friend of ours. So there's four of us. We're going there for dinner. But we get there early enough to watch the horse warm up. In harness tracks, harness horses, if you're in the fifth race, you warm up after the second race and you go back in the barn. They put covers on you and they keep you warm. And then you go out and race. They're like athletes. They can't just go out and run. They got to loosen up and they got to go slowly and get a little faster. And every trainer has a belief on how to warm his horse up, or what this horse likes or that horse doesn't like. So we go a little early, and on the way out there, we're talking about how this horse didn't train well this week. In fact, the horse was so stubborn that in the middle of her training, and of course it's a woman, it's a female, she just decides to stop running. She just stops, and no matter what the trainer did on the back of the buggy, wanted to move, go, come on, let's go. The horse just said, nope, I'm going back to the barn. So, of course, if a horse doesn't train, or if an athlete doesn't train, when he gets into a race, he's not in the best condition. He need to train. So we're talking about how this horse didn't train and how bad he's been, and he's been sick, and he hasn't run well, and hasn't raced for 3 or 4 weeks. So to start out with, we're sour on this horse. Now, we get there, we sit down, and my friend says, I'm going to go watch the horse warm up. Well, the horse is supposed to warm up after the second race, but instead he warms up after the first race. And my friend gets back to the chair and goes, God, Rick, that's the trainer. What an idiot. What a goof. He's just an idiot. He never does anything right, because you don't want to warm up the horse too soon. You warm him up too soon, and the horse is going to get stiff, and by the time his race, he's not loose. So I said, well, why does he warm him up after the first? He said, well, I told him to warm him up after the second, but he warmed him up after the first. He says, because he's just an idiot. He doesn't think he has enough time to get everything done by the time the race goes off. And he tells me it doesn't make any difference. But I know it makes a difference. The horse looked terrible. I mean, it's just ridiculous. This whole thing's ridiculous. So he says, can't bet the horse. The horse can't win. So we're sitting there, and we're trying. Second race goes off, third race. Now we'll get to the fifth race, and it's our race. Now, the horse should be about 20 to 1, 25 to 1. But for some reason, he's only 10 or 11 to 1. All of a sudden, he's 8 to 1, 7 to 1. And he's got the number 7 position, which there's 8 positions in harness horses. They go 1, 2, 3, and they spread out. And the further you are to the outside, the farther you've got to run to get to the middle of the track. So you have a disadvantage to being on the outside of the post. So we're arguing, should we bet, shouldn't we bet? So he's down to 7 to 1. And finally, we all decide not to bet. Well, of course, the horse wins by 5 lengths. Pays $17 to win. So for every $2, you get $17. And we bet $200, so we get $1,700. So, of course, we're sitting there going, well, why did we bet him? Well, the gambling god was watching. He didn't allow us to win. And I've enclosed a picture of the horse winning and us standing there in the winner's circle, getting our picture taken, and showing that we were there and our horse won. But what did we do? We didn't bet. And so this just shows you how ridiculous gambling is, and how hard it is to make any money gambling. Even when you own the horse, you know how he's trained, you say he can't possibly win, and this horse gets out there, she feels good, she wins, and you know what? If you bet a different horse, she runs down your money. So I know for a fact that the gambling gods exist. Whether the others exist, I don't know, but gambling gods for sure exist.